Doing people. Thanks Mates subscribing to the channel. I said I was going to start at the beginning, but I took myself away. Anyway, on the 4th of September 2011, two police officers from Strathclyde Police came up to the house. We were in three different parts. Stacey Ann was in the house, Susan was at her work, and I was down the park with Buddy, my wee pup at the time. So I got a phone call. It was actually Stacey Ann's phone, but the police were using it. And they told me that I had to come home. The guy called me mate, but so I thought it was a kid on. And I says, leave your badge number and I'll contact you. And he says, no, you need to come home. It's regarding your son Robert. As soon as he said that, I knew there was something right. I says, don't tell me my son's passed away. He says, you're in the right lines. He says, you need to come home, I need to speak to you. So I was in the middle of a park, a couple of miles away from the car. So I grabbed the dog and made it to the car, and then I went to Susan's work to try and to pick Susan up to bring her home. And she was on the phone, trying to phone Robert. Obviously there was no answer. And then I found it difficult to try and get her to leave there. She just wanted to keep making a phone call, We go to the stage where I says, well, I'm going to need to leave you here. I'm going to need to go and see the police. So eventually I got her in the car. Before I made it home, I got a phone call from a guy called Matt Healy, who was the Squadron Sergeant Major, the unit that I was in. And he asked me if it was right what he was hearing about Robert. And I says, what have you heard, Matt? And then he says, have you not been told anything? I says, no, the police are up in the house waiting for me. He says, well, get your ass up there. So Matt had known. I'll tell you later on how Matt knew before any of us. So anyway, I got into the house. There was two police officers in here, and I put the dog in his wee cage, and I looked and I could see one of the police officers was tearing up, and I knew right away. I knew my son had died. So he says to me, you Charlie Fleeton, you Robert's next of kin, his father, and I said, aye. He says, we've got sad news for you, your son's passed away at RAF Benson. And there's a phone number. So I was asking, what happened to him? And he says, we don't know. I said, how did he die? I don't know. There's a phone number. Phone that number, and he'll be able to tell you everything. So I says, right. So I went into the kitchen to use the phone, and I phoned the phone number. Whilst I was on the phone, the Strathclyde police left. So the phone number they gave me was for RAF Benson, and it was actually for a guy called Corporal Wilcox, who was the RAF police corporal, and he was first on the scene. He was actually a guard commander that day. So when I phoned him, he asked me, what did Strathclyde police tell you? And I said, they've told me nothing. They've given me this phone number to phone you. What's happened? And he says, I don't know how to tell you this, but your son committed suicide in his room today. I went, what? He says, your son's committed suicide in his room. I says, what time did this happen at? He says, 8:30 this morning. And I looked at the clock, and I says, and it's 10 to 4. I says, and it's took you that long to tell me this. He says, there'll be somebody out to see you within 2 hours. There'll be somebody coming out. I says, right, okay. So that was it. That's how I was notified that something was wrong with Robert. So we waited 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. Nobody turned up. Nobody from the RAF turned up. So we sat up waiting and waiting and nothing. So the next day, this would be the 5th, this would be the Sunday the 5th. At 8:30 I phoned up the guardroom and explained who I was, and I says, nobody's turned up. I says, what's happening? The guy was all apologetic and he says, I'm going to get the duty officer to phone you. He says he'll phone you in a couple of minutes. So the duty officer did phone and he says somebody will be doing for Lossiemore within the next couple of hours to speak to you. He says, right, okay. So that was at 8:30, 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, 1:30, 2:30, 3:30. So about 4:30, the padre and the families officer turned up. Miles Rathaby, he was the officer, and obviously the padre. And they told me that Robert had died at RAF Benson. And they couldn't tell me anything. There was nothing they could tell me. They were there just to sort out the arrangements for the funeral. And any questions I had, I had hundreds of questions. But they couldn't give me the answers. So that's how I was notified by the police and the RAF. It took the RAF 32 hours for the time Snap Clyde Pauls informed me to the RAF coming to my door to try and tell me something about Robert. 32 hours we waited. The D-Day landings were quicker than the RAF. And then the things that they started to tell me after that was unbelievable. Unbelievable. But you're in grief and shock and you don't know exactly what you're doing or what you're saying sometimes. So it didn't really sink in. We were walking about in a daze for days. And then things started to escalate with the families officer. We were asking simple questions and we weren't getting the answers. We were getting difficult answers. So to test it out, to see how open and transparent they were, I asked a simple question to the families officer, is what time did I phone the guardroom at RAF Benson on the 4th? What time did I phone them? So I knew the answer. I knew it was 10 to 4. Simple question. So Miles Rathaby went away back and asked that simple question to the hierarchy of the Royal Air Force. And then he came back with the answer. And this was the answer he came back with. If I wanted to know what time that I phoned the guardroom, then I should go into my service provider and ask what time I used my phone to phone them. That was the answer I got. Rather than the families officer phoning the guardroom and saying, look at the log and tell me what time Mr. Fleeting phoned you. That was the answer I got. Check your service provider and they'll tell you what time you. That was it. So then I knew then this is going to be a long struggle. They can't answer a simple question about what time I phoned the guardroom. It just got worse after that. And I'll tell you how it got worse on the next one. Thanks everybody for subscribing. Thanks for watching the channel. Sometimes I'll go away somewhere else, but I'll always try and come back to where I've left off. All I can say is justice for Robert, and thank you.